Hello and welcome to the Guna Talk. Back again with you guys for another episode of what is our full-time phone-in show today. And goodness me, what a terrible, terrible day to have to try and launch what is a first really on the channel, doing these full-time phone-ins. Not particularly great, coming off the back of Arsenal's 2-0 defeat against West Ham United at the Emirates Stadium. In by far the worst performance of the season. I think it's probably fair to say. What we're going to be doing is going to be joined by hopefully a few willing participants on today's show. If you would like to join the phone in to give your thoughts, the link to do that is in today's chat box. I should have posted and pinned the comment to the YouTube chat. You need to have a webcam. You need to be over the age of 18, of course, as well. This is what we like to describe as a family show, so you can keep it clean as well. But yes, the link is in the chat box if you would like to jump on. Until anyone brave enough to have their thoughts heard, I understand that maybe after that, you were hoping to talk about a win, but sadly not. We're going to jump into the chat box and tackle some of your comments until we wait for some callers. Owen says, let's sack or sell someone. That's how it works, right? Bradley says, I'd love to join in the phone in, but that's just added to an awful day. I'm off to bed. Night, Tom, and everyone else. Bradley, I absolutely understand what situation you find yourself in at the moment, because you're in the same situation, I know, as a hell of a lot of people are in right now as well. Patrick says Odegaard has about 80% possession himself and never lets the ball go. Front row says really disappointing after the start we had. Dano says that we started off rather cocky, playing 3-0 football at 0-0 and then couldn't get out of second gear. Alex says we missed Havertz's height and physicality on their second goal. Who would have thought we'd be sitting here in December saying we missed Kai Havertz a few months ago? How the rhetoric changes. Boss says it was the deadest game in the world. And I think it was our deadest game of the season, our worst performance of the season. Gunny Guna says, I'm so mad right now. Mahendra says, one game, move on. Let's get back to winning ways. I wish I could have your optimism. And to be fair, I do. I do very much feel like this is a blip, but there are certainly some question marks from that game that I'm sure we'll be talking about with our callers as they join us. Harry says, it was a poor game. West Ham played their socks off, but how on earth the pitchforks out for Mikel Arteta? Because that's how it works, Harry. That's how it works. You have to understand, Harry, if we lose, it's Arteta out. We win, they go quiet. That's just how it works, mate. Unfortunately, with a section of this fan base, that is the way that it works. He carries on by saying, no season is perfect, and these are people, not robots. Roll on the new year and dust ourselves off and push on. Well, we've got one more game, of course, before that new year is indeed coming through. We have to go to Fulham, which Arsenal fans will be expecting, quite rightly, a quite significant reply, considering what we've come to expect from them otherwise. Jay Bravery says there were quite a few chances for us to take them. Very frustrating. 30 shots, 8 on target. Do we need more quality in the final third? Just an off game? I think it's pretty obvious that in the final third is where the reason why we're obviously not scoring goals. Defensively, we look good, even though we are certainly short in there in the midfield, and that's why there's reason why Arsenal are wanting to find depth and reinforcement in those areas in the market. But you can't help but think that bringing in somebody to add to our attacking options. And it also, I saw a tweet through the game that was basically saying that it seems like our players, a number of players, have hit bad form at the exact same time. And from my perspective, I think Martinelli's form was poor. I think Trossard had a poor performance. Jesus wasn't exactly the best. Zinchenko again was poor. Nelson and Ketia came on, were poor. Odegaard was the guy trying to make everything happen. And we had Saka on the right-hand side, who sadly couldn't get into the position that we ultimately needed to get him into. Let's bring in our first caller, shall we, to the show. Joining us is a Nunan. Joining us. How you doing, mate? You good, you well?
Yeah, I'm not too bad. Not too bad.
You sure? Because I'm not good at all.
Yeah, it's so frustrating. I think I just think in terms of cohesion up front, we're still having issues. And we're going to play against teams like you've mentioned, or channels have mentioned. We're going to play against a low block, And it's just how we, with Martinelli, and you can see even with Saka, they're just, if you look at Saka in the first half, there's around 3 or 4 players around him at one point, and we don't seem to. There's no kind of plan as to how we're going to navigate in terms of freeing them up to become more creative. If that makes sense.
Yeah, it does make sense. How do we solve this? Like, how do you solve the lack of, I suppose, the clinical finishing? What is it? What is the solution to this?
Well, look, Jesus had, you could say, 1 or 2. Arguably, he should have scored at least 1 with that header. And it's that we know Jesus, in terms of him being clinical, I don't think he's there yet. And I accept that Jesus, as an out-and-out striker, he's not that player. He's brilliant. He's a brilliant footballer. He links play very well, and he's someone who, I wouldn't for one second think he shouldn't be in the team. But I just don't think we're clinical enough. The chances we do get, and as you say, our productivity this season compared to last season has diminished significantly, because teams are now wising up to our strengths, which I believe was Martinelli and Saka last year, in terms of what chances they could create. So, Tom, that's the $1 million question, isn't it? What can we do? What can we do in January that's going to realistically promote? Is going to ignite that kind of creativity up front. I know it's not as people say Tony, people say spending this, spending that. We have to be realistic. What players are going to be available to improve our squad, and if they are available, they're obviously going to be very good players for the teams they play for. So there has to be a willingness from the selling club for them to be available. So I just think it's a conundrum that Mikel Arteta needs to solve, and like I say, he gets paid for it. We don't.
You're right, and Arteta is the one that will have to find the solutions when we go up against Fulham. I would expect will probably defend deep, as well, and we're going to be in a very, very difficult place come that week as well. I appreciate your time. I sense that there's some kids in the background that might need your attention, mate. So I'll let you go on. Thanks, mate, for calling in. I really appreciate it.
Bye now. Bye.
We've got plenty of call lines open. If you do phone in, you will get on. If you want your say, all you need to do is click the link in the phone-in chat box. If you're also looking for it elsewhere, you can find it in the video description. If you can't see it, you might need to refresh your stream. It will be there. I've had a few people join without cameras who sadly we can't get on. It is over the age of 18. That you need to be, and also a couple of people that have joined with no lights on, which is always a little bit disconcerting. So if you do join, make sure your lights on so I can see you. It's obviously so I can check and have my own judgments about whether or not I think you're over the age of 18, of course. So do get in touch that way. The link is, as I say, in the chat box. The phone lines are open. If you ring in, you will get on. Javid says, we really missed Havertz this game. Trossard is not an interior 8/10 player for me, and we're missing Tommy and Timber more than ever. If we can't finish, I'm finally admitting we made it a striker. I don't think that there is much of a debate about the idea that we need more up top. The argument for me has always been about who that person is and how we can get them into the club. That, I think, is the biggest question that we're facing at the moment regarding the striker situation. I don't think there's many people out there don't think that we need something extra up top. Let's bring in John Hicks to the conversation. John, how you doing, my friend? You good? You well?
I'm frustrated, man. This is so frustrating, Tom.
Yeah, me too, mate. Tell me what you're thinking.
Nah, I mean, I'm just okay. So I love Gabby Martinelli. I mean, he's the explosiveness, the creativity. He's there. Sometimes a player just has to get taken out of the limelight. And then we expect Reece to come in and save the team. You haven't given him any minutes over the course of the last, few games. What do you expect him to do? I'm so frustrated, man. I had to call in. Thank you for having these phone-ins.
No, of course, man. Absolute pleasure. I think what a lot of people are asking is, how do we solve this problem? How do we solve the issues that we saw tonight? What is the solution?
I'm not going to get – what frustrates me is, some of the players that he's playing, to me, he just needs to rotate more. And I get it from a coach's perspective. You have to show, support. You have to show that, you're willing to be there and have their back. But Zinchenko and Martinelli, I think they just need to get taken out of the limelight. I think they're great, but that just frustrates me. I don't want to get too reactionary. I think that at the end of the day, we did dominate the game. West Ham, they really, they had a plan, and it was a great defensive performance. I'm not going to take anything away from them, but listen, we had 5 big chances. If we put any of those away, we would have been good. So I'm not going to get too reactionary. If we want to win a title, we need a killer up front. Like we need a bagman. I know we probably don't do that.
Who though, John? Who is the answer?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I feel like with our scouting network, Tom, tell me, like somebody has to tell me who's out there. Everybody wants the next Victor Osimhen and Erling Haaland. Tell me, give me somebody from Brazil, from Spain. Give me somebody that's really not on the radar. I know that's wishful thinking, but I don't know.
Well, they're out there. I mean, it's the reason why you look at Man City spending 14 million quid on Julian Alvarez, and look what quality that's got them. So clearly, it's out there, isn't it?
They're there. They're out there.
Yeah.
Somebody just find me a bagsman. Thanks, Tom. I appreciate you, dude.
No worries, John. Absolute pleasure to speak with you, my friend, and I hope that you can chill out for the rest of the day and maybe take your mind off things.
I will. Hang in there, man. Take care. Bye.
Thanks, bro. Massively appreciate John. Let's get Okie onto the call next. Oh no, we got Esmail. Sorry, that's the right. What happens there is basically like lining up at the bottom, and then it deletes someone and it moves them in. Okie, you'll be next, but Esmail, I can't kick you off because that'd be incredibly unfair. How are you doing, my friend? You good? You well?
I'm all right, Tom. You?
Yeah, am I pronouncing your name correctly? Please do correct me if I'm not.
Yeah, Ishmael is fine. Yeah, that is pronouncing it correctly.
Tell me where your head's at, mate.
I just think this particular result, I cannot blame Arteta for this.
Okay.
Last season we did very well, which was unexpected, and I was happy the way we played. And I understand what he's trying to do, kind of like compact and dominate the football. But we all knew from last season we needed a striker, either through injury or somebody that can finish. Jesus is not the guy for that. He does everything else, which I think he gave us a lot of depth in the front three, because he could play left, right, and get a striker. And I'm going to disagree with you in terms of Tony. I think if Tony was in that team today, we play differently. Where that low block, we have Saka, Martinelli, or even Trossard. I know he was very, very poor today. I was really disappointed. And I've always been disappointed when he starts a match. I don't know why. It doesn't seem to play very well. But I think if we have Tony today, we win this match. Because I think there's a different way to play. And the front three, Saka, Martinelli, will be inclined to put more crosses into the box. They are not doing that because Jesus is not in the box. He's drifting left, right, which is good. But it's not theory. Really used to do that quite a lot, but it was the finisher as well. Or we could pick the ball from 25 yards and smash it into the top corner. And Jesus can't do that. So I think Arteta has kind of create a problem for himself, not intentionally, but he really needs to go out and get a striker.
Would you drop 100 million on Tony in January? Well, I'm not saying we have that money, but that seems to be what the price tag is, according to The Athletic and other sources out there at the moment.
The thing that was the price of winning the league. That is what I'm looking at. So if 100 million is the price of winning the league, yeah, I would drop 100 million. We are looking at winning the league. We've not done it for a long time. And we are looking at a position to win the league. And if Tony is the man, I just think if Tony is in that team, it might sound very expensive, but like the first caller said, there are other striker out there. Can we get a striker? And I like Solanke as well. I think it will improve the team. With Jesus, Solanke, you create a bit of a depth. And even if he doesn't play every match, or he's not the guy to score 20 goals, but it gives you a plan B. And again, I've been very, very critical of Havertz, but today I just sat there like, Jesus, we could do it him today, and that's it.
Sorry,
and that's being a fan, and that's
the price tag and thinking that maybe somebody else out there. I don't think Arsenal will have 100 million. I absolutely understand what you're saying about if 100 million wins you the league, go and spend it. I can't disagree with you. If I was told 100 million pound signing wins us the league, obviously I'm going to go out and do that. For me, it's the fact that I know Arsenal won't have that money in January to spend because of the financial situation and the scrutiny that we've got on Arsenal at the moment. But I absolutely take your point. Ishmael, thank you so much for calling in. I really
all right, Tom. Good night, Tom. Thank you.
Have a fantastic evening, mate. Right, let's bring Okie in. Apologies for that, Okie. I didn't mean to. It's one of those where like, they drop off the call and then I've selected someone else by accident. Talk to me how you feeling, mate.
All good, Tom. All good, Tom. Can you hear me all right, mate?
I can indeed. Clear and crisp.
Brilliant. Yeah, look, I'm frustrated, mate. I think you are as well, and I think most fans are today. But I don't want to get too negative because we're in a title race, mate, and I think that's still important to keep clear. We're also still doing really well in the Champions League. I think any Arsenal fan, if you told them where we'd be at this time of the year, at the start of the season, would probably sit here and go, we'll take that. So I think we've got to put that in perspective. But that's notwithstanding, today was a poor performance. My opinion, others may disagree and say we were hard done by. We had another controversial decision go against us. Again, I can't see the referee chalking that off because there's no clear angle of the ball fully being out. I've seen the pictures afterwards.
There is, you know, I think there is a clear angle. I'm going to bring up the picture because I tweeted it.
Yeah, I think I know the one. Yeah. Go ahead, mate. Bring it up because the other fans might want to see it as well.
Just for the benefit of my own sanity, and I feel like I'd regret it if I didn't. I just need to check.
No, please.
Been bad. No, they haven't. That's fine. So like for me, you can see the black line between Bowen's die and the post, and you can see the yellow of the ball there, and you can't see anything to suggest there is a ball that is crossing that line. I don't really want to make this the main thing of the show because look, at the end of the day, we conceded 2 goals. And we weren't good enough, and they were better than us. Yeah. So I don't want to make this the main thing, but it is obviously incredibly frustrating, you know, to see this situation happen twice. And then also, I think Gabriel Jesus is blatantly fouled in the box by Souček I think it's Souček when he slides in on him because he dummies it.
Yeah,
and the player comes in and clears him out. Tell me,
I don't understand how that one isn't a penalty, and then Declan Rice slides in late and gives away a penalty at the other end. I understand it's different circumstances, but you've taken the player out without the ball. So why is that any different? I get the idea is that you're stopping a goal scoring opportunity for the Declan Rice one at the end. Like, I get that. And I've also played the game like many others and understand you don't slide in the box unless you're going to get the ball, right? But I seem to find it, and again, I don't want to turn it into Arsenal controversies or Arsenal, there's a conspiracy, because I know you're not like that either, Tom. But like, it does feel a little bit like we're being very hard done by at every opportunity when there's a 50-50 call. It doesn't go Arsenal's way. Now, the one that Liverpool fans will remind us is the handball against Odegaard. Now, for me, that's a handball for me. That's a handball for me. And I love Arsenal. I'm one-eyed just as much as anyone else. But that's a handball. So yeah, we maybe got away with that one. But I would say that, of course, over the course of the season, we've been pretty hard done by. But that's notwithstanding.
I think it's out. I don't think it does anymore.
Yeah,
you know?
not for us. It doesn't seem that way. Not for us. And I think that's one thing to discuss. The other thing to discuss is how, and I know other fans have brought this up, and you yourself as well. We're just not finishing chances. And I thought, even though sometimes during the season we've sat here, I have as well, and said we're not creating enough. We're not creating enough. This time I thought we were fairly creative, especially Odegaard was brilliant today. I thought he created some absolute magic. Now, he gave the ball away as well, but he created some magic when there were 10 players behind the ball. You got to give him credit for that. A few players could have done what he was doing to create something from nothing. I think the problem is we have him and Gabriel Jesus effectively doing the same thing in that game, holding the ball, turning, twisting, trying to create something, moving around, playing with your back to the goal, not taking enough shots. And I don't know if there's enough room in that team to hold him, Havertz, Jesus, all doing the same thing, but nobody on the end of that ball to put it in the net. I know it's the topic that's come up a lot, but you know, the concept of a marksman or a bagsman or a clinical finisher, like, we haven't had one for a long time. And I love Gabriel Jesus. He's a brilliant player. He's a great hold-up player. He's a great dribbler. He's a great teammate. He works like a dog.
So you're going up against a low block, you know, and you're trying to...
He can't do it.
And when you get maybe 1 or 2 chances, if we're being honest, you can't necessarily rely on Jesus to be the guy that's going to take the 1-in-1 chance. And he got that chance, didn't he, with that header?
He did.
Went well over the bar. So I
He did.
sympathise with those that view that and say, Ivan Toney might have done better in that chance. I don't necessarily sympathise in the same way that say, they drop 100 million quid on the guy because that's how much he effectively will cost, according to Brentford and according to very, very well-connected people suggesting that is what the price would be. But I absolutely understand and have empathy for people who have that point. Okie, thank you so much for tuning in and jumping in. I really appreciate
Thank you, Tom. Thank you, mate. Thank you for your content.
Always, mate. Thank you so much. Much appreciate that. I'm just going to do a quick switch of camera. Only reason why is I've got about 75 million cables plugged into this laptop. The only one I don't have plugged in is my charger. So you're going to see a quick change of camera. There we go. I'm going to move that. That looks horrible. But just for the moment, I am going to have to undo this one just while I try and sort it. And the light's going to go as well, which is really irritating. But let me just bring in another caller while I sort out the annoying tech stuff. Let's bring in Denny. Denny, how you doing, mate? You good? You well?
That's about that. Thank you, Tom. Thanks for having me. It's my first time here, so
pleasure, mate. Tell me how you're feeling.
Frustrated, obviously, like most Arsenal fans. And to me, I don't know, man. When I look at the stats, I still don't believe how we lost that game. I look like at what point now. I also feel like Martinelli, he's struggling at the minute, and
he's out of form, isn't he, at the moment?
Yeah, he's really struggling at the moment, and I don't know what other plan Nikhil can do to help him like get involved into the game as and be effective. Because at the moment, sometimes I saw him a couple times in the game. He would just be lingering, and then just be out of the game. And then sometimes he would come in, to try to make the switches and stuff. But I don't know. I just feel like our front line is not really firing at the moment. Yeah. And maybe today, actually, maybe we missed. What's his name? Kai Havertz. Maybe we did miss him today. I don't know.
It's amazing we're saying that now, isn't it? If I said to you 2 months ago, you're going to wish that we had Kai Havertz in the team, what would you have said?
Oh, get out of here. I was definitely get out of here with that. But yeah, man, it's very frustrating when, obviously, the controversial first goal, when things like that happen, it seems like it always happens to us. I don't know. I know it happens to us, but like as soon as it happens, because if you saw us when we played before that goal came, we were just shifting and everything was clicking. As soon as they score that goal, and then it gets a bit dull. No more switching anymore. No more looking for that what you call this? That final, like that crisp pass. Be a bit more brave in the final third. The only person who kept the bravery was Odegaard. He kept the bravery. He kept on pushing. He kept on trying to get the guys moving, and he risked it. And somebody else would miss a ball here and there, but I like to see that. That's what we want to see. And I felt like when you look at Jesus, he comes too deep. It's hard for him now because there's no one else who's going to go into and switch with him, because Martinelli wasn't making those switches when he's coming deep. And then he gets caught, passes the ball back, and then we start again from over. And it felt like we were never, if we played another 20 minutes, we were never going to score again in that game.
I absolutely empathise what you're saying. Just let me ask you about how do you feel about obviously the decisions that didn't go our way as well? Did you feel aggrieved, or did you feel as though this game was always going to go the way that it went?
Obviously, at the time, you feel aggrieved, Tom, and you just feel like us again. I know there's always like the Saka penalty. I thought there was a penalty because he hits him with the shin on top first, and then he stumps his foot down, and then Saka's leg gets caught on the West Ham defender's leg. And I felt that was a penalty. I'm not going to lie, that one I felt aggrieved. But the others was just, again, another camera not being there. What's his name falling on Jesus? It's a give or take when every time when it's us. But I don't know, man. I've given up on the refereeing side of things, to be honest. Like if we leave our chances to be on the rest, we'll never win anything. So yeah.
No, you're not the only one, mate.
Yeah.
You're not the only one that's given up on the refereeing at the moment. Denny, thank you so much for your call. I really appreciate your time, mate.
Thanks very much. Yes, just for having me.
Pleasure. We are actually, our queue is full, by the way. If you're trying to get in to the call, we've got a queue of people we can fit. It allows me to fit, I think, 9 to 10 people in. So if you're trying to get in, obviously, when people drop out, if you do finish up on the call, please make sure that you leave the StreamYard afterwards. Otherwise, new people can't get in. I've put a list of the caller list in the chat box. So we go to Raymond next, who I know is not a happy man. Raymond, talk to me, mate.
Hi, Tom. Thank you for having me.
Man, you all right?
Yeah, well, not good, not good. It's kind of
good, mate.
No, yeah, this is really frustrating. Really frustrating. I'm finding with the front three that we have right now, it looks like they all seem to be playing in a similar way, too similar. I think with Jesus, Martinelli, and Saka, they all seem to be wanting to turn and with the ball, but always in areas that I know there's not danger. And they seem to be very static, and I think there's a lot of confidence lost in them, to be honest with you. I think especially with Martinelli and Saka, they don't seem to have that confidence of running at, their forwards. I know you can kind of caveat it with the fact that, this season Saka's been kind of doubled up on, but Martinelli on the other side, he looks a shadow of himself from last season. And Saka this season just doesn't seem to be. He can't seem to get going. So I'm concerned that in the key moments we're going to be come up short with the goals. I think that's the key thing for us, especially with this low block. You just need. I feel like we need someone in there who's just going to get on the end of things. And I know there's the talk of Tony and what have you.
£100 million though.
I know. So that's the thing, though, isn't it? But the thing is, Tony, he looks like the sort of player that you think he would get on the end of a lot of things, and this is the thing. I think of
there as well.
Well, yeah. Do you know what this game was crying out for him as much as he's been criticised this season. But I just think with the way that they're playing, the players at the moment, the wide forwards and the wide men, there's nobody. You notice their heads are down. Not once do they look up to see who's in the box because they know no one's going to be there. Jesus is going to be out wide, trying to pick up the ball from the wide man and drive or try and hold the ball up. It just doesn't look like we've got a plan B when that doesn't work.
It felt like today we didn't have that. We didn't have the plan B. Like, I was getting frustrated about the fact that we kept on trying to be a little bit too cute, too intricate when you just get the ball in the box and gamble in those moments, because if you're on, even if you're at 70 minutes, you think you got time, that time runs away from you. Get the ball in the box, take a risk. Like the changes for me came a little bit too late. I would have made a change at half time because one of Martinelli or Trossard was not doing enough. Brought Smith Rowe or Nelson on earlier. I would have decided to bring Zinchenko off earlier, who I thought was having an absolute nightmare. West Ham were camped in their own box, so we could afford to take off Zinchenko, I felt, earlier on in the game. And the fact that we wait until the 80th minute to bring Smith Rowe, I mean, what does that send a message? What message does that send to Smith Rowe,
Yeah, that as well. When you saw him warming up and Arteta giving him instructions, I'm thinking it's difficult for you as that player to feel inspired when your manager brings you on with 10 minutes. What can he say to you to get you G'd up? Because the first message is, like you said, I don't trust you enough to get you on earlier. So what? How am I going to be inspired by you if you don't trust me? So it's tough, really, because for me, I think we're going to really struggle in those key moments this season. I think we'll get close again, but we'll just come up short. My worry.
I think if we have this type of performance too consistently, without a doubt, it's also worth bearing in mind that Man City have won 2 of their last 7 league games, and they currently sit if they win their game in hand, I think a point or whatever behind us. So this is a season in which teams are going to drop points in the title race. This is going to be a season in which teams are going to be, put to the test, because it is a very difficult Premier League season. I think it's one of the toughest Premier Leagues that you could win this season, with how strong the quality is across the top, 10 to even 12 teams at times. When you look at Chelsea down in 10th to 12th place, you got Wolves beating them quite comfortably, and they're still below them as well in the bottom half of the table. So, and they've had some big wins themselves, Wolves. I think Wolves have beaten Man City this season, have they not? So it's also worth pointing that out, that there is a lot of opportunities, I think, for teams to drop points. We have Liverpool at the start of February. That's a must-win game in the league for us if we want to try and win the league. We go to the Etihad. I think we've got to completely avoid losing that game if we've got a hope of winning the league. So there's a lot more points up for grabs, Raymond. But I really appreciate you jumping in for the call, mate.
Thank you. Best show on YouTube.
Thanks, man. That's really kind of you. Thanks,
Keep up
mate.
the good work. Well done. Thank you.
Cheers, man. Massive appreciate Raymond coming on for the kind words as well. I have, for those that are joining in, I've put a call list in there to give you a little bit of an idea when you might be on. If you're new to the call, you'll be joining the end of that call list. We'll try and get as many of you on. It might mean the calls are slightly shorter so we can get through as many people as possible, but we'll try and get as many on. Dylan is up next. I see that he's on his laptop, so I'm going to give him just a quick second to sort himself out. There he goes. There he is. How are you doing, Dylan? You good? You well?
Sorry,
you're on mute at the moment, mate. There he is.
myself.
Lovely stuff.
How you doing, man?
Not great. How are you?
Yeah, honestly, up to the 70th minute, I basically just put my hands up and said I didn't see us getting any result in that game.
Yeah.
That was probably
it felt inevitable, didn't it?
Yeah, exactly. I feel like that was I don't know if I can think of a worse one. I think that was our worst performance of the season. I don't know if that's too much of a stretch, especially to be at home as well.
Yeah.
when we've got such a good record against West Ham, and I think they just everything they did was just worked so well against us, in my opinion. See if I can turn you up a little bit on my phone. 1 second.
That's all right, man. Don't worry. I think when it comes to talking about this game, obviously we can talk about how good West Ham were, which they are, and often we don't as Arsenal fans, when we lose, talk specifically about the opposition and what their tactics were and how much they countered us so well. But it did just feel like we had one plan, and when that plan wasn't working, nothing else was working. You know what I mean?
I feel like we just soak up the possession, and we don't really have much to offer in regards to. Well, definitely in regards to our front line, but it felt like we were getting sort of played off the park in many ways. Like they just seemed to be more up for it. Maybe they had a bit in their teeth about like the Declan Rice situation as well. I thought if he would be like, you know,
his worst
everyone was calling him to have like a man of the match performance today, and you know, somebody was calling him to get a hat trick, and I just couldn't see it happening. Honestly, but coming into this game, I was thinking about it today. I was like, I actually have a really bad feeling about this one because there's more expectancy as well. City won their game, Liverpool won their game. And then it's up to us to see if we can keep the pressure on, and we sort of faltered. I know I left my YouTube username in my tag just so that you can. It was me who left that comment a couple of weeks ago about the Tony situation.
Just last question. I'm kind of asking a lot of people: is £100 million for Tony the answer?
You know what? I don't think it's likely. I've been one of the main advocates for Tony for a really, really long time. But I think if we could just get another kind of profile, I know you've been sort of making the argument that maybe we could go for somebody even better than Tony. That just doesn't seem feasible in January altogether. But I just think another profile. Like, I think Solanke or Tony scores those headers that Jesus had today. I just think another.
If you said Solanke for 40 million or Tony for 100 million, I'm taking Solanke because I know that's.
I'd be odds to disagree with you as well, just on the basis of the price tag and the feasibility of it. Anyway. It was
It was terrible. Dylan, thank you for your time, mate. I really appreciate it.
Cheers.
Pleasure. Have a good evening. Much appreciate Dylan coming on. Let me just check quickly my call list. Rob is up next. Let's get Rob into the call. How you doing, Rob? You all right, mate?
Yeah, what? How's it going?
Not great. Not great at all. How are you?
Well, I mean, okay. So here's my take. And maybe I'd start off with Ali McCoist as the commentary on Amazon that I had over here. I mean, he was basically saying, you know, Arsenal were not at it. And, you know, you're kind of saying we were terrible. The previous caller was saying that West Ham played us off the park. I mean, I don't see that, to be honest. I mean, I've got some of the stats up here.
Yeah, played off the park, I wouldn't agree with, no.
No, I mean, we had 75% possession. We made almost 3 times the number of passes. Field tilt was almost 90%. Final third entries was 92 to their 16. Expected threat chances 7.5 for us to 0.9 for them. I mean, I could go on, right? Like, I think.
Yeah, I know.
I think as Arsenal support, well, I think probably as all football fans, right? And in one way it makes sense, goals win games. So, if we don't put our chances away, then obviously that has a massive effect on how we view the game. But, I sort of feel like Jesus had quite a few pretty good chances and, just wasn't clinical. No great surprise there. He's a great footballer, but he doesn't slot as many away as I think he should, as most of, for most teams, their first striker is going to, I think, slot away more chances than he does, percentage wise. Martinelli, his form's just dropped off a cliff. I really think we missed Havertz today, having that height in the box. I think one thing that McCoy's did get right was, he was saying, I want little one-touch football, and Odegaard just so amazing with his footwork. We were brilliant around the box. I mean, I think one of the deep touches, 115 to 18. It's like we had so many touches in the
just
box.
What we do with those touches, though, isn't it?
Exactly.
I didn't feel like we gambled enough.
No, and I think you are right in regards to like what was the plan B. There was no plan B. I think once we, especially Saka started putting crosses into the box, we looked more of a threat than all these nice little touches in the box. But again, that's why I say I think we missed Havertz, because having, what is he, 6'4" or something like that,
we missed him today. Yeah,
not having that height, I think Arteta would have said, we need to go through the middle or do the nice little touches, because we can't put crosses into the box because we haven't got, the tall centre forward. I almost think I do wonder. I mean, I know that I've maybe asked some of the questions on the chat and on previous times of like, could we have, moving someone from a position into another position, and it's kind of like, I think your take, which is probably fair enough. You know way more about football than I do, but is kind of
yeah, sure. I think that I see comments, and obviously that people are frustrated and people are annoyed. MD says, why are they not shouting, totally not finishing our chances? And Rob says, same old. Like, I think that's really, I don't think that's accurate. I don't think this is same old Arsenal. Arsenal have drastically changed. If there's one thing that we relied upon from Arsenal, was actually turning around scores that go against us. How many late goals have we turned up in games? We've been really good at turning around scorelines that have gone against us in the first or even late into the second half. There just wasn't in the same way that against, you think about the Brentford game, we had Havertz to score that goal. Against Luton, you had Havertz to get the equaliser, and then Rice in the box with a cross, ironically, to get the winner in that game. Even the Nelson situation, that initially came from a corner against Bournemouth last season, in which he then scored from the rebound out from that. We just weren't gambling the same way that we gambled against Brentford and gambled against Luton, and it felt like without Havertz there, we just stuck to type and could not find a way around. But yeah, I think that the stats you bring up are really fair, and certainly mean that's the reason why you listen to our show. But when it comes to the game in itself, I think a lot of fans are going to turn around and say, we need more, and it doesn't matter how dominant we were, we didn't convert.
Yeah, I mean, I absolutely 100% agree with, we need a plan B. Eddie came on, Reece Nelson came on. Eddie's overhead kick, he's got the skills, right? But his consistency, his, being able to kind of the ball sticks when it comes into him, or laying off passes just isn't there. He didn't do enough as a sub, I don't think. Nelson didn't do enough as a sub. If you want those impact players, if it's not working, I thought ESR was good today. I thought he kind of got about it.
Didn't come on early enough.
No, I think, I wonder whether that's fitness though, right?
I'm told, Rob, that he's fully fit. That's
really?
what I'm told. I'm told
Okay.
He's absolutely fine to play more minutes than he is. He obviously started that game against Brentford. I remember earlier on in the season. Yes, he had that another injury after that, but I just look at that and go, why have we not got him on earlier?
There's something going on there, isn't there, between him and Arteta? That there must be, because you know, like a couple of seasons ago, he was almost our top striker for the number of games that he played.
Yeah.
And yet, like Arteta this season, and I mean, he was injured quite a lot last season, but just doesn't seem to want to play him. And I don't know.
I don't know why.
It's no plan B, and not trusting the subs, I guess. You know, it's kind of we're back to last season where it's kind of our first 11 needs to play every game, and if they're not fit, then it doesn't click for us. And I mean, I thought that we'd got over that with the summer signings. I mean, I guess we've got more injuries again.
We've obviously lost players, but I mean, we haven't lost any of the forwards. You know, we've got Saka and Trossard and Martinelli and Nketiah and Jesus and Ødegaard and Smith Rowe. I suppose Vieira's, you can say, is out. But, you know, it isn't that in that way inclined. Rob, thank you so much for your time, mate. I really appreciate it.
Thanks, mate. And Happy New Year to you and all the listeners as well when it comes round.
Likewise. Have a fantastic rest of the day, mate.
Cheers, mate.
Cheers. Thanks, Rob. Much appreciate that. You see, you can't have a defeat without comments like this. Arteta has to go. Got to go. We can't carry on like this. Let's get our next caller into the situation. Tom, how you doing, mate? You good? You well?
Hi, I'm good. You hear me?
I can hear you loud and clear, mate.
Yeah.
How are you feeling?
Well, you know, bad. But first of all, I want to say great show, and I've been listening to you for the past nearly 2 years, and I love your analysis, and I love the show. Yeah, and I hear you every day.
I'm still saying that, I can't smile too much after we've lost. So
I know.
Let's go into it.
Yeah, well, I want to start actually with the 2 points that I want to say. It's first of all, I think the Martinelli question, why he's being so poor this season, and the second thing is with the Trossard. I know that you spoke a few times that you see Trossard as the new Santi Cazorla.
That's where his career will eventually go.
But I think it's being shown this season that it's not happening at the moment. You know, I mean, in the summer it was looking good, but since then he had a couple of games there, and he's being, I mean, he's not being terrible, but he's being ineffective. And I think is the reason that it happens, and it's actually the same reason why Martinelli doesn't affect, is because the tactics we're using this season, and that's why it's crazy to say, but Kai Havertz is so important, is because this season, I think the switching, you know, we usually have a lot of switching. The switching is more with Jesus and Havertz. I mean, Jesus comes in and Havertz goes into the box because he has this ability. And because of this kind of switching, because the way we switch the play is, I think it's that Martinelli actually get less to switch, because now Havertz is actually taking his place when he goes into the box. So I think, first of all, I think Martinelli gets stuck more on the side, and then he has to kind of run into corridors, and he doesn't get the chance to cut in as he used to be last season. And it shows last season, even last season, you remember that he had a few games that he was poor when we didn't have Jesus and we put Nketiah on, and it was the same effective because he couldn't switch. So, and only when we put Trossard to switch with him as a false number 9, it started working. But I think this season is actually more effective because this is actually the different style of play we're playing. And I think this is the same issue with Trossard, because when Trossard comes on as a number 8, it seems like you expect the same thing from him, but he's not the same type of play. He gets stuck on the edge of the box. He doesn't have the ability to go inside and find spaces, and he's kind of stuck there. And he's stuck there. Jesus is stuck, and Martinelli is stuck, and it's all those three doesn't seem to work. And as well with Zini, he's trying to connect between the plays, but there's not enough switching between those players, and that's why I think that when you don't use Kai and you want to put on Trossard, unfortunately, I don't think that Trossard and Jesus and Martinelli can all play together as they did, because it doesn't seem to work. You have to have either Trossard and Martinelli, or Jesus and Trossard on the side, it works better when they switch. And I think this experiment it's failed, and that's why actually I thought today that we're actually going to play with Jorginho. I really thought that I was really hoping. One thing I would say is that actually
just last one quickly, Tom.
That Smith Rowe is actually looks much better. Looks much more has better ability to play that number 8. I think he does it much better than. I mean, we could have seen it in the last 10 minutes, but he does it much better than. And I think. And the last point I want to say is that what annoyed me the most without this crazy game is the substitutes that we're putting on. It feels a bit lackluster. I mean, you see Liverpool, when Liverpool have to get a goal and they can put on Gakpo and Jota, and people laugh, but when Liverpool pushed so hard to sign Gakpo ahead of United, and it was so important because when they lose, it always seems like they have a bit more firepower than we have.
It's not a bit more firepower. They have a lot more firepower. They've got Mohamed Salah, Diaz, Jota, Nunez,
and that's why I was quite frustrated in the summer when for example, the ironically is that Kudus was so available for 40 million euros, and I mean we had good relationship with Rice. Apparently we have we tried to now we're linked with another player from that, and Eddie doesn't work. I think. I mean, you said it yourself as well, but he looks very good as a number 1 for a team because when he starts, but he has zero impact from the bench and
from the bench. Yeah, when I see Eddie Nketiah come off the bench, I don't think, oh great, this will change things. With all
exactly, and that's why I think that he'll
score goals. But if he's come off the bench, his impact is very, very small.
So that's why he'll be probably a very good striker in a West Ham or when he starts. Exactly. But unfortunately, as a number 2 for us, it doesn't work because it doesn't give any impact from the bench.
No, it doesn't. It doesn't at all. Yeah. Tom, thank you so much for your time, mate. Really appreciate you.
Thank you as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate the kind words as well. Very kind indeed. Let's bring on Nikhil, who I hope I'm pronouncing correctly. Am I doing that correctly, Nikhil?
Yeah, absolutely, Tom. Yeah,
perfect.
Bang on about that.
So much better inside. Thank you for jumping on, mate. Tell me what you're thinking.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what else to say apart from what everybody else has said, but I have that little stand first in my headline, which says, let's talk about Zinni. And I don't mean to single out any players here, but I just want to find some different angle to this call. But I mean, I've been noticing him for the last few games. He's been giving the ball away. There've been mistakes in his game. I think he just seems a bit lackluster, to borrow a word from the previous caller. I think he's sort of lost, I think, a bit of the competition. Maybe when you have somebody like Tomiyasu or even if when Timber would have been around, he would have kept pushing him. I just feel like he's not, he loses focus every now and then. And it's leading to his downfall. He looked really surprised when he saw his number come up today. I just noticed the camera span to him, and he looked really confused why he was coming off. I think he should have been embarrassed. He should have had his head down.
It was fairly obvious while he was coming off, wasn't it?
Yeah. So I think, Zinchenko really needs to pull his socks up. I noticed in the first few minutes of the game, the way Arteta set up the team. I'm no tactical, Tom, I know, but I just noticed what my eyes noticed, and sort of Ali McCoy, as somebody else mentioned on the Prime commentary, also mentioned this, that Zinchenko was very much in the holding role, or like the holding midfield role, where Rice was dropping into where Saliba normally is, and Gabriel pushed all the way up to left back, and Arsenal were trying to build up that way, and I noticed that was the ploy. But it just wasn't working. I just don't see Zinchenko being able to influence the game like he was for us first half of the last season. So, yeah, I think work needs to be done. I know the theme you've had for the show today is how do we improve this, and that's I think the $1 million or the $100 million question, isn't it, Tom? So, just to spin it back on you, what are you thinking about? I mean, you've got so many responses now. Are your creative juices flowing in any way?
I think that I maintain that the defence of the midfield, we're short. You know, we are short in those areas. We're losing Tommy and Partey and El Neni, of course, as well, to their respective tournaments. And I haven't got an issue with that, as I know a lot of fans would say, you know, we should say no. I don't agree with that. I talked about that on this morning's 8 a.m. show.
Yeah.
But when I look at that and I look at the team, if I knew we weren't going to get, if you said to me, Tom, there'll be no more injuries, like eventually Partey, Tomiyasu, etc. will come back, or whatever, you know, there'll be no more injuries this season. If it was up to me what I would bring in, I'd bring in a forward. And I'd bring in another, ideally a versatile forward, like a Pedro Neto or somebody like that, to give us something different. I wouldn't go out, you know, because the whole Tony thing, as I've said before, you know, £100 million, as I think it was Raymond earlier on said, or I think Ishmael said it as well, you know, if £100 million you tell me it wins me the league, of course I'll spend it. Of course I'll drop £100 million on Tony if you're telling me that wins us the league. No problem. The fact is we don't know if it will, is the first thing. And B, we don't have 100 million to spend. It's just not going to happen. So can you find a player for, let's say, 50 to 60 million on staggered payments or an initial loan deal to come in? Maybe, but it's going to be really difficult unless we can sell somebody.
You know, like
sell Grow, or do you sell an Nketiah? Sorry, go on, Nikhil.
No, I just wanted to sort of touch on the thing that you mentioned there, the 50, 60 million pound striker, 70 million pound most probably, like we had when we found Aubameyang. You know, he was one of the hot prospects and the hot properties in Europe at the time. He was of the right age, but not many clubs were going in for him. And Arsenal, through I remember the time we had Sven in the, you know, at the technical director role. He had a good relationship, and you know, we made Aubameyang happen, and it sort of came out of the blue because we just signed Lacazette. I think it was that summer or the summer previous. So we need to find somebody like that. I don't like to jump onto bandwagons, pretty much like you, and I don't particularly think maybe Tony is attainable. If it is, I'll be on for it, number one. Like, I'll give him the number 12, whatever he needs, you know, whatever's available in the club, you know, make it happen. Osimhen as well, make it happen if we can. But if not, I don't want us to be in a position where we were almost every winter transfer window, where we're linked to somebody almost the whole of the window, and then we don't end up signing him because it looks like we've not had a plan B. And I know Edu has changed that. I know Arteta has changed that.
I think we do. He just was suspended for this game. You know.
Yeah. But I really hope we do have, you know, something up our sleeves for the winter transfer window. Otherwise, it's looking like I don't want to be reactionary here, but it looks like we're losing that spark. I know all season we've not had that fluidity, for the want of a better word. I know that's the word of the season, isn't it, with Arsenal fans? But we've not had that, and I understand why.
Using that word because it's become such a overused word this season. Fluid, like if you looked at Arsenal's performance today, like I wouldn't say that was a side that was rigid or lacking fluidity. There was loads of movement. There was loads of slick passing. We lacked the finish. That's all we lacked, was the finishing touch. True. I don't think it was fluidity that was a problem. I think it was, you know, we lacked the cutting edge.
I'm happy to get that control, you know, in exchange of whatever we've lost, for the want of any other term. But I'm happy to get that control. But to look at the silver lining, Smith Rowe running onto that header or that pass from Odegaard, he scores that header. One of Jesus's headers go in. It's kind of like that Chelsea Declan Rice banger moment. You know, if we have one of those, it could have changed the fortunes for us. But I don't know, maybe Tom, I know you've got a long list of people, and I do appreciate you do these shows and you allow fans, you know, like us to come on and share humble opinions. But there's something I think maybe, I know you're close to the club in terms of you go to press conferences and you speak to people. Maybe something to look at is, I don't know why people stream out. I'm based up here in Scotland, and I grew up in India.
People leaving the stadium.
Yeah, was there another?
It's happened for years, mate. It's what happens, you know.
Yeah, but it's just not. I don't know. It doesn't look right.
Well, I agree with you, and I when I saw the images on the television today of the people leaving, you know, in their droves, and I'm sitting there thinking, oh mate, it looks so bad. Like, you support the teams. I sit here on a show, right, and have fans come on, as you may have seen on a former phone-in show, fans who are saying that we should be stopping tourist fans from coming in because we got to let people that go to these games week in, week out. How many of those thousands that were leaving were season ticket holders, you know?
Tom, I've never been to a match live. I'd give an arm and a leg to go for one. It's been so difficult to get tickets. I only moved to the UK about 3 years ago. I've been all around the world. Grew up in India, lived in the Middle East, all sorts of things. But I've never got a chance to go to a live game. I've gone to the stadium loads of times, but I've never got a chance to go live. If I was one of those tourist fans, I would never have left. I would have been one of those people, that the stewards would have to ask to, please leave the stadium now because it's been so many minutes after the match. I even noticed it during the last Champions League game.
You'll be told that you're getting your money's worth, Nikhil. That's what you'll be told. It's because you want to get your money's worth. So,
but even during the last Champions League home game, there were people leaving the stadium. And if you go back and watch sort of the footage, you'll see it for yourself. I think it's absolutely bang out of order that we were amazing last season as a fan base in the stadium. We were amazing that half season when we came back after COVID. And this season, credit, we've been there. We've sort of made the noise, but when the team needs you the most, as supporters, what do? Let's be tacticos outside, but let's just be supporters in the stadium. And I really, really feel we were sort of, getting back to those sort of, tailing away Wenger days where there'd be groans and oohs and ahs. And I get it, but let's just support the team. Just look at Anfield. They just made it an absolute raucous of an atmosphere when we were up there. So I think we really, really need to look at ourselves as a fan base as well, the ones who are going to the stadium. And I'm not calling anybody out, but I'm just saying if you're going to see that cannon appear on the television when we're watching the match, something's wrong. And we're far, far away from where we were as a club 3, 4, 5 seasons back. So I think we just need to stay on more there. And, the supporters who go to the matches, please, from people like myself, just stick on and support the team because, like you said earlier, we're one of the teams that have scored the most last-minute goals. So let's stick in with the boys.
Nikhil, thank you for your time, mate. Really appreciate it.
Cheers. Thank you so much. Appreciate it, Tom.
Pleasure. Massive thanks to Nikhil for coming on. What I'm going to do is I'm going to close the queue. So I can see in my queue at the moment, I've got Isowa who's going to be on next, Guna 76. I've got Naveen and Paul, Normski, Ayere, Elliot and Ola. I'm going to close the queue there just because otherwise I'm not going to be able to get any more on. So we're going to say that the queue is closed from this point. All the people that I've named that are down below, if you stick around, hopefully we can get through to as many of you, fingers crossed, as we can. Isowa is going to be on next, but his camera's not on. So while he gets his camera on, there we go. Isowa, mate, how you doing? You good? You well? Just take yourself off mute. I'm sure you're going to sit down somewhere and then you'll be coming back on. There we go. Lovely stuff. You all right, mate?
Yeah, I'm good. How are you?
Yeah, well, I've been better, mate, to be honest. I've been better. Tell me how you're feeling.
Yeah, Tom, I don't know what to say about the match. It's a lot. I'm gathering my thoughts. Yeah, Zinchenko, is he a scapegoat? Can we call him a scapegoat if we criticize him, or it's too much?
I think that you can accurately criticize his last few performances without scapegoating him. Yeah, I don't think that's mad. I hate when people do scapegoat players, but I don't think it's scapegoating to say that Zinchenko has been one of our poorest performers of late.
Yeah, I think so. He's a liability defensively. The first goal that we've seen concede, I think so was too close to Gabriel. It hit off him. I think so Gabriel was clearing the ball. And then it hit Zinchenko, right? And then that's what led to the goal was not supposed to stand anyway. That's another matter situation.
Yeah, I'm actually quite glad we haven't talked about that much because I don't think we need to, get fixated on the refereeing, which was bad.
We don't. Yeah,
so, yeah. But go on.
We have ourselves to blame right now. We don't need any refereeing. Yeah, we should. That situation fiasco should be kept to the side. But yeah, that goal, regardless here or there, it's not supposed to stand. But it should. But that, I think so. Am I correct in saying that it hit Zinchenko when Gabriel was trying to clear the ball? Is that true?
What, for the first goal? Is this
for the first goal? Yeah.
I can't remember. Maybe Chatbox might be able to help out. I honestly can't remember. So.
Yeah, but and Zinchenko, I don't know. Arteta should be harsh on him and just punish him. Don't play him the couple of next matches. I'd rather have Cedric on the team than Zinchenko being a liability defensively. his lackadaisical approach to the midfield when he cuts in to invert and help with the midfield when we're building up attacks. He's good in certain aspects when we're attacking, but defensively, even last week when he didn't cut in, when he let Salah cut in, I didn't like it at all. Somebody should have been there to cover for him, but everybody knows it's been discussed a lot that you should force him to his right, not his left. Don't give him that opening. We know he's one of the most dangerous wingers in the world, and I don't know if he's a defender. I don't think so. He's a defender.
No, he's not, and he's not playing as a left back. The problem is that what Arteta has done is that whilst he's found a way in which we can overload the midfield and get greater numbers and more of a chaotic influence with Zinchenko there, whilst he has certainly turned us into title challengers with the presence of Zinchenko in this team, and that is evident by 2 successive title challenges with him being our main starting quote-unquote left back. The thing that he's not worked out is how to cope with those drawbacks that are involved in him being there. Until he works out how you include Zinchenko and also cover for his drawbacks, we will continue to see these problems. And I think maybe there's something to be said about the role of Rice and Martinelli maybe being involved. That's not a criticism of those players. It's just how do you use those two to cover off the issues? And maybe we see that when Rice drops into the back 4 when he does.
Yeah, but last year we were starting. I don't know if people are underestimating our team, Arsenal. The way that we're flying last year, attackingly, there was no handbrakes. Everything was flowing. The only issue that we had was defensively we were leaking a bit. And then, unfortunately, when Saliba went down, we had Rob Holding to cover, which was a problem. But this year, it's very stagnant. You had an issue. I heard you talking with Nikhil or somebody else. You said that you had an issue with the word fluidity, that we're not fluid enough.
I've tried to avoid using that word because I think it's being overused at the moment. I think actually what we saw was a fluid performance that lacked cutting edge today. Like, we were very fluid. We moved all around the pitch. There was loads of movement, loads of passing, but we just couldn't find the ball. And when we did, we didn't have the finishing touch.
Tom, I don't know. I respectfully disagree. I don't know. We had a dominant performance midfield-wise.
30 shots.
30 shots, but then again, where did the shots go? Did we threaten the goalkeeper? Did we put it in?
No, that's why I said we lacked cutting edge. I don't think you create 30 chances at goal if you aren't fluid in some way. You know.
Well, I get it. I get what you're trying to say. Yeah, if we're not fluid, we don't have it. But still, that fluidity can also be helping with the fact that we're not scoring. Cutting edge, maybe it's more cutting edge than fluidity. But then again, if we're fluid, we're not fluid at all times. We're not hitting our strides in a complete sense. Like 30 shots, but how many of those shots were actually threatening the goalkeeper? So,
no,
we're
I
getting.
understand what you're saying. I think that you saw a lot of movement, you saw a lot of passing, you saw a lot of that, which I would describe as fluidity. But what we didn't see was the execution of the final pass or the final attempt at goal. That's what was lacking. And I think Kai Havertz has a big part to play in that, personally. I think him being missing is a really key thing, that we didn't have him like we did against Luton, like we did against Brentford. And people are saying in the chat box, I think I had Cape Town say to me, no, don't go for a wing, go and sign a tall striker. Well, I'm sorry, but we have a tall player, and I'm not going to go into the market and drop 100 million quid for a guy that's over 6 foot just because he's over 6 foot. Like, we don't play a way which suits that. We don't play a system that suits the idea of having a taller forward. You know, we have Havertz as an option to be in those centre forward positions when we need to play that way, but we didn't have him today. And so we suffered because we didn't. And that was because of suspension.
I don't. Martinelli should not be playing next week. He's not going to play next week.
But who do you bring in? What, Nelson? Do you start Nelson at Fulham?
Start Nelson. Wait, is Emil Smith-Rowe?
Trossard doesn't deserve to start anywhere more than Martinelli.
Does Emil Smith-Rowe play with his left? Is he a dominant lefty or a righty?
He's a righty, but he obviously played a lot at the left-hand side when he did play. I'd play Emil Smith-Rowe. Put Trossard or is what's his name? Havertz coming back next game. Yeah.
So Havertz, keep him instead of Trossard. Put Emil Smith-Rowe. Let him combine with the attackers. Jesus, I'm I've coming to my wits' end. Zinchenko is already a lost cause for me. I'm not. Maybe he'll have a redemption.
See, that's where I think you cross the line into scapegoating. I think if you say Zinchenko's a lost cause, I think that's where you're then crossing the line into scapegoating. Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm fine with that. Yeah.
No, that's fair enough. If you're that's fine. If you
I'm
if
fine.
you want to own it. But
Personally, will agree to disagree on this one, saying that Zinchenko, in my personal opinion, maybe it will change later on if he changes my mind. But seeing him this past couple of this is a season and a half, he's a lost cause for me. And if you're gonna call it as going step too far, I'm not abusing him. I'm just calling
No, you're not abusing. I never said that. I just said I think that is a step too far in terms of the analysis of Zinchenko. When you look at, we had Kieran Tierney prior to Zinchenko. Tierney's moved out. Zinchenko's come in, and that's coincided with Arsenal turning from a side competing for top 4 for a side competing for titles. And I think there is an argument. Let me finish quick. There's an argument to make about the drawbacks that he gets. But when I watch this game back, and I think of watching it back, do I look at this game and go, we didn't win because of Zinchenko? No, I don't think that. I think we didn't win this game because we couldn't finish our dinner. We didn't win this game because we didn't have a presence like Havertz in the team. And we didn't win this game because we didn't gamble enough when we needed to. And I don't think any of that is linked to Zinchenko. I think that his performance wasn't good. I didn't think he influenced the game enough. And I think he should have come off sooner so we could have gambled more. But I don't look at this game and go, yeah, Zinchenko was a problem and the reason why we didn't win.
Zinchenko's part of the problem. He's not the main problem. But for me, analyzing
that's
him...
That's who you have talked about the most, Isowa.
What?
That's who you talked about the most in this call is Zinchenko.
Yeah,
if he's not the main problem, why is he the main point of this particular debate?
I was going to start, I told you I was gathering my thoughts. And then while gathering my thoughts, my points, I started veering towards Zinchenko. But because of the first goal, which we're not sure of, so we stayed on that point.
I'm told it wasn't off Zinchenko in the chat box. I'm told Gabriel kicked it off himself, apparently, is what I'm being told by the chat box. So there you
go. Still, my point stands. Okay, that's why I was asking. I might not have been right on that one, but for me, analyzing him, Zinchenko personally, I think he needs to be, for me, he's a lost cause. Martinelli, on the second hand, he's getting close. I'm not going to put him in the same bracket or the batch as Zinchenko's. If nothing else, Tom, Martinelli works hard. He fights for the team, but stylistically, the way he goes, remember that game that we had in Champions League against Seville? The way he was cutting in and destroyed that left line, right back to the core, that I said this is a world-class performance. From that point onwards, maybe he had 2 or 3 good games, but I don't know, his form has dipped. I don't know what it is. Apart from the stupid grass that was wet, that was on both sides of Liverpool and Arsenal. I'm not going to say it was disadvantages for us only, but he had a shot today that he could have scored that came from either Saka or Jesus. And then I don't know what's wrong with him. He should not be starting. Arteta should be sending a lesson. I thought he sent him a lesson by taking off in the 65th minute. But next game, for him to be known as a guy like, we don't carry players. Players carry the Arsenal. So he should be on the bench and bring on Emil Smith-Rowe to take his place. And what else? Also, Jesus is not a striker. I've come to the realization Jesus is not a striker. He is a creator in the attacking third, but he doesn't have killer instinct. Who else? Saka had 2 games, now going on 2 games, I guess, but otherwise he's very consistent. He was sad that he missed the chance that came off the bar. Who else also? You have,
just quickly, because I'm conscious of the time and I've got another 7 callers to somehow fit here in 35 minutes. Just, I agree about the analysis of the performances of certain players. I think some of them were just simply not good enough, and that's absolutely fine. I've no qualms with that whatsoever. But
if we go, final thing. If we keep on going like this, Tom, I feel like the percentage of us winning the league is slim to none. I'm not slim to none. Below.
No, if we play like this the rest of the season, we won't win the league. If we play like we played for the majority of this season, I think we got a good chance. But I
attacking wise, we're not as strong. We don't have. Who's our energizer bunny? Is it Nketiah? Because I don't think so. He is.
No,
we don't have. We don't have an energizer bunny. We don't have somebody that's coming off.
I think Trossard's come off the bench at times, been brilliant. You know, I think Smith Rowe, if he's given more trust, can be. I think I've said before, if I can go into January and sign a player, it would be a versatile forward that could add something more to our forward line. You know, I'd want more firepower. But, you know, I think that Martinelli's in poor form. Saka's at a little bit of a dip, you know, and I think that without Havertz today, we lacked that other option. Havertz has scored some really important goals for us as well.
I agree with you, Tom. I've come around on Havertz. I think so. He's doing very well. I like him. Yeah. At first, it was iffy. I mean, you cannot fault the people who were doubting him in the beginning, but you were correctly like, let's give him time to go on and stuff, to keep on playing. But yeah, now he's showing his worth, but not 65 million's worth. Maybe half his price or quarter of his price he has regained. But he's going to be a good addition towards the rest of the season. But we cannot just say that one player has destroyed all our fluidity in today. I mean, our attacking sense or our final touch, final shooting.
No, I don't think it has. I just think it lost us an option, which I think we missed, to be honest, today. So I need to move on to my next call, but I really do appreciate you jumping on. I really appreciate the conversation as well.
Thank
as
you.
always.
Thank you, Tom. Thank you.
Pleasure, mate. Do call in again. I really appreciate your time. Cheers, mate. Much appreciate. Isowa jumping on. Always a pleasure to have a chat. Let's bring on we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 callers left. Let's go to Guna 76 joining us next. How you doing, mate? You good, you well? Nice.
I'm all right, Tom. How are you?
Very good. I really appreciate the Ian Wright shirt. It's very nice.
Bro, I'm rocking it, isn't it?
I wore this my walking football the other week, which I now started playing with my father-in-law, and I got laughed at so much for wearing that shirt. It was
I think they're beautiful. I've got it for our whole family's got it now.
I think it's great. Tell me how you're feeling, mate. I saw you reacting to a lot of what people were saying down below. So tell me what you've heard.
Oh, you saw me in the little window, yeah?
Indeed, yeah.
Yeah. I'm sorry. I am pissed. You know what I mean? Yeah. It's just it was a terrible performance. Everybody was crap. You know what I mean? It's so annoying because you know they can play so much better than that.
Yeah, I think we can, but what do you think is the reason why we didn't?
It's our front three just aren't clicking. Like I've been listening to you about Tony and all that, and it's like I've been like, nah, we don't need a striker. All our team scores. You know what I mean? We get
I
goals.
Said that we don't need a striker.
Everywhere.
I don't think Tony's the right guy. You know,
yeah,
I think a lot of people misconstrue that as theirs proven. You know what I mean?
But after tonight, I'm thinking we need a striker. I don't know if it's Tony or not, but I think we need somebody to finish, man. If we had an out-and-out striker, we'd scored 3 or 4 goals tonight.
No,
do you know what I mean?
Don't know if you put Erling Haaland in this team, we'd probably win the league. You know,
oh, Jesus. Yeah, of course we would. We ain't going to get a Haaland, but who do we get then? You know what I mean?
That's the question.
That's the problem.
People in the chat box are suddenly coming around on Solanke when I was told when I first talked about that link. Apparently, Solanke is nowhere near good enough. You know,
Solanke looks all right, though, man. He does look all right, though. Solanke looks all right.
I don't know what people have like. I think I was underwhelmed by the link when it first cropped up.
Yeah, I was as well. When I first heard about it, I was just like, who the? You know what I mean? And then looked into him, watched him a few times. And man, that boy's getting good, man.
But no, I think he is good. I saw a great stat today that said he's outscored all but 2 of Didier Drogba's Premier League goal-scoring seasons, and it's only December,
mad?
Which is a great stat.
Mad, isn't it?
Yeah, and I think
that is crazy.
Drogba than maybe it does Solanke, but yeah, I think so. Yeah. What do you think about the criticism of Arteta following this game?
Arteta? No, I've got no criticism.
Yeah.
Apart from, I wish he put Smith Rowe on with at least half an hour, not 15 minutes. Come on. I mean, I'm a massive fan of ESR. You know what I mean? He's my boy. He's Hale End, lad. You know what I mean? You've got to give that boy minutes. You've got to give that boy minutes.
Why isn't he trusting him? Why do you not think he trusts him?
I don't know, you know. I mean, he looked a bit wavy, innit? He looked a bit wavy when he first come back before he got injured again. But I think he's come back, and even Arteta said he's come back and he looks even better than ever. So why is he only given him 15 minutes? Do you know what I mean?
Says a lot of things. I've
I
come
know
to
he
learn
does,
not
isn't
always
it?
what he
He's a
means.
fucking
So,
nightmare.
yeah,
Sorry,
it's
swear.
very true. It's very true. Final point. Do you think we'll respond quickly against Fulham, or are you expecting a bit of a timid display?
No, I think we've got to smash them, haven't we?
Yeah.
We've got to smash them. One thing I would like to say, though, I think the fans in that stadium were a disgrace. Absolute disgrace.
So disgraceful. I've heard different things. I was speaking to James at AFTV and he said that he thought the people around him were loud, but I've heard other people say that the fans weren't good. So
it was just so dead. Why could I hear, like, how many tickets did the West Ham fans get? 2,000?
I think it's 4, I think.
3 or 4. Why can I hear 4,000 West Ham fans then above 60,000 Arsenal fans? It's a disgrace.
Look,
and what were they doing? Walking out early
when we conceded, but they went quite quick. And this
is
the thing.
What were they doing? Walking out early?
It's because there's too many tourists, and I'm like, that's a load of bollocks. Because there's 45,000 season ticket holders in there, and you're telling me that tourists.
I don't give a fuck who they are, but why are they walking out? It's a disgrace.
Get their train, mate.
It's a disgrace. Yeah, brother, we all got to get our trains, isn't it? But it's a disgrace.
I've always been pretty critical of the Emirates crowd in regards to the way in which, and the irony of that is, and if listeners are wondering what I'm talking about, if you go back and watch the phone-in show that we did talking about the ballot system, one of the things
I was on it.
That people were telling me there was too many tourists at games, that the people that are English should get prioritized, and all this BS. Like I was being told that. I asked them, why did you leave in certain games early? And they said, well, the players didn't deserve my support. And I'm like, are you kidding? Like, it's the biggest load of
bollocks. I was on that show, Tom. I've come on the phone. I was talking to you on that. But it's just like, I don't care who you are or whatever. Don't leave the game. You cheer till the end.
Comments like this from Archangel says, WTF had the fans got to be excited about. And
mate, come on now.
You're there to support, and I'd always say that you're there. Arteta called for it.
If you're a Guna, you stay there till the end. Especially if you're lucky enough to get the ticket.
Yeah.
And you cheer and you shout for them. You don't leave early. You don't go off to get your fucking tube quick. Come on now.
I'm going to just warn you on the language. 76.
I'm sorry.
I appreciate you're emotional. It's fine. Monetization's already gone out the window. I appreciate your time.
I'm so sorry, Tom. I'll hit the like button, yeah?
Don't worry. It's a late night show. It's past the watershed.
I'm sorry, Tom. Thank you for your content over the Christmas period, bro. I really appreciate it. I think you're sick. You're wicked.
Oh, I really appreciate that. That's really kind.
Honest to God, you are really good.
I'm sure.
Yeah, I'll catch you on the Discord.
Catch you, mate, soon. Have a good one. What a legend. Love it. Apologies for any bad language, but it is past 9 o'clock, so it's only fair. Let's bring Naveen into the conversation next. Naveen, how are you?
Hi. Tom, you can hear me?
I can indeed.
Yeah,
you're very professionally
I know we are seeing better days.
If I couldn't hear you. How are you doing?
Not very good. It's quite early in the morning and I have to wake up to watch the game, and we lost. So going about the game, okay. I mean, let's talk about the history, okay. We signed Jesus and Zinchenko, and then they promote us to be title contenders, right? And then now we have virtually like more or less the same squad, and then we have Zinchenko playing the left back, and he's not having the best of seasons, right? This season we have seen more errors from him, and I think that we probably expose him a lot in terms of 1v1 defending, which is his most worst weakness. And I think we need to change in tactics. Maybe in some ways, do like what Jurgen Klopp do, and then move him towards midfield, and then have Gabriel just focus on the left-hand side. And in some ways, have more added protection in terms of the midfield to protect the left-hand side more. Because now teams are looking at it. And not just the Zinchenko issue I have. I mean, like, this season, we are seeing a different kind of season between Martinelli, Saka, and Jesus. They are not as consistent as they were last season, right? And we have noticed a common pattern here. Most teams are now doubling up on Martinelli and Saka. And I think that in order to escape this issue, I mean, Saka has to find a way, right, to escape a double team. And I just feel that maybe he holds the ball a little bit too long at the wide areas. I mean, when you take one extra touch or two extra touch, definitely the midfielder will come at his direction and then congest the left-hand side a lot more. And then you'll find ways and being more isolated. So I think for him, maybe he should try to pass it early, release the ball early, and cut in inside, and then make a run towards the penalty box and try to escape the double team as fast as possible. Martinelli does that, but he's not as consistent as trying to finish.
What's been wrong with Martinelli, do you think?
I think Martinelli is a lack of confidence, and also Zinchenko also as well. I mean, it's not good, right? Both players at the left hand side is not doing well at the same time, right? But when Martinelli doesn't find space to run, then how does he expect him to create an impact to score? I look at Martinelli in the same mold as Cristiano Ronaldo. I know, okay, they are both different players. Right now, one is very consistent all in the league in the past few seasons before. But I'm sure if Martinelli just mold his style of play to Cristiano Ronaldo in terms of just
it was so easy.
I know it's not so. I know, of course, it's not so easy. But the way he runs is really Ronaldo-like, right? Do you agree? I mean, the way he runs, the way he pushes the ball. I mean, if he just needs to learn how to shoot like him, do a knuckle ball or two or something, and then maybe just fire it at a goal, just try his luck. So I really think that Martinelli has a lot to offer if he just tries to change his style of play. Yeah.
No, I think you're fair in putting. I think Martinelli's form is a concern, and I think that it needs to be something that is addressed quickly. Do you drop him for Nelson against Fulham? Is that the next move?
No. I like Nelson a lot, but I don't think so because the drop in form is just too much to bear. I think the one that I was worried, right, was the Trossard inclusion in terms of midfield. Of course, this is all based on hindsight, right? But let's be frank here. In all previous games Trossard has played in midfield, we have looked very, very bad, right? I mean, I've seen every time when he has to take over the role as playing a midfielder at the left hand side, we look very lackluster. Most fans will say, "Oh no, we are being more attack minded because we have Trossard." But actually, I think that's a false sense of the understanding of the game. Maybe if we had Jorginho there, we would have had more stability there. I mean, look at it this way: Trossard has always looked bright whenever he came on from the bench, right? Or when he's playing at a front three role on the left hand side or whether at the center forward side. So when you put him in midfield, I just feel that we are just nullifying his talents. Yeah. So I think maybe
if we don't score with 30 shots, then we have to do 50 or 60 to try to score. That's the only thing. I just can't imagine a game where we have more touch in the box and more dominance. And look, I hear what he's saying, but I think that his analysis is wrong. I do disagree with Arteta there when he says we need to have 50 or 60 shots. It's like, no, we need to be more clinical with the 30 shots that we have. That for me is where I think Arteta's a little bit askew. Last question, Naveen. Do you think we respond pretty quickly against Fulham, or is there going to be a bit of a hangover?
I think we have to respond because one thing's for sure, we have to come back from a defeat. We have to come back and ensure that we still can contest. We won there last season 4-0, and I expect a better result against them at Craven Cottage. Yeah.
Fingers crossed that you're right. Fingers crossed. Naveen, thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Pleasure. Fantastic stuff from Naveen there. As always, very professional with the microphone as well. You got to respect that. Let's hope for some equal levels of professionality from our next guest as well. And let's bring Paul into the conversation. Paul, how you doing, mate? You good? You well?
Hey, hi, Tom. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Yes, thank you for joining me. Thank you for being patient as well.
I'm loving your program. I've absolutely been following it for a very long time. I remember COVID periods and stuff.
Wow, that's scary long. I don't know how I've managed to convince you to stay this long. I really, really don't. What do you want to talk about, mate?
Oh, yeah. So I want to first of all look at the first goal, analyzing that first goal and how we considered it, because I think it's so easy for us to blame VAR that the ball went out and probably wasn't out in the end. But how did we get there in the first place? Losing the ball and on transition, and you could see White was not even in position before that cross came in from Emerson. That meant that Saliba was out of position. All right. And then Gabriel tried to clear the ball, I definitely remember that ball ricocheting off Zinchenko. So it wasn't Gabriel that, but it came off Zinchenko's. But you could put that to bad luck. I didn't think.
Of course. Just like the ball being out of play and still being given.
Yeah. So I couldn't say Zinchenko was really bad, unless we were trying to, use the lenses of last game against Liverpool to judge Zinchenko in this game. What does that mean for us? People like Martinelli as well. Okay, just quickly going back to Zinchenko. One thing I found out, and I actually got from the last caller, was this. Last season, Zinchenko was magnificent most of the time. Why? Because you had someone like Xhaka. And if you remember, Xhaka always filled the left back. Even though he was more advanced, he came back and he filled in the left back positions at times for Zinchenko when he went forward. And that also supported Martinelli in a different way. So having Xhaka actually supported Martinelli moving forward, beating players that want to move around, and also created more goal scoring opportunities for Martinelli. This season, he doesn't necessarily have that with Kai Havertz. Kai Havertz is a different profile of player entirely. So he's having to play, catch up with, Havertz, adapt to it. And what that has cost for him is the same problem that Saka has been having for the past season, or 2 seasons now, if you add this, where people double up on him. He wants to run into space. And Martinelli being that sort of player that doesn't look up. If you understand, if you look his game, he doesn't look up all the time. He's just head down, run, get to the byline. If he can cut back in, fine. If he can't cut back in, then he just lashes on the ball. If he gets across, great. So he has a long way to go in terms of developing that side of his game, looking up, knowing when to pass the ball. In certain occasions. So I mean, he's not a finished product, and we should understand that. So hopefully he would develop on that. But for me, in my opinion, I think next game he takes the bench after the outing in Liverpool. And today he was, you could see he wasn't really improving from last game. So I just thought, I think you just take the bench, see how things go. Moving forward, I think we need a striker, an out-and-out striker, and you would then see a different.
That's what I'm going to ask you. Who?
Oh, goodness me! Every half-decent striker is that expensive this day and age, isn't it? Like Tony's 100 million. Osimhen, he's not going to go for anything less than 131 million euros or something like that. But yeah, I couldn't tell you. But again, if you look at those players, you look at Tony's profile has never been one of those that we normally get in Arsenal. We normally get specific type of strikers. I mean, from the days Alan Smith, going down to Ian Wright, going down to you would have grown me Kanu, who wasn't a full-on striker, but a supporting striker. Henry, Anelka, those profiles, those sort of profiles. And if we're looking at that, we don't have that in the team currently. And could I tell you? I think the funny thing is everybody keeps mentioning Dominic Solanke, and I'm actually headed towards that as well. He looks like a profile that I like, that I see with his movement forward, and potentially you have the likes of Jesus running range round players and being able to deliver to him. So yes, I think we could make use of that kind of profile. Whether or not I don't think we're going to get him in January, we're not sure.
Yeah, I think that is obviously the question, isn't it? It's about what are we going to do. By the way, I think that's some fantastic analysis, Paul. You got a lot of love in the chat box for that as well. I think a striker in January is just not going to happen. I think I've said for a while that we're going to wait until the summer. I'd love to see us bring in a versatile forward that can give us something different. But also, you got to think about the fact that next year we'll have Tomiyasu and Partey hopefully back, Timber hopefully coming back at some point.
Yes, I was going to mention. Sorry, Tom, not cutting you short there. I was going to mention as well. If you look at the successful teams in the Premier League of late, like the Man City teams, they have always evolved their gameplay. What I mean there is, remember the season they had Aguero, Jesus, Zinchenko, all in the team.
Oh, have we lost Paul? I think we might have lost Paul. Just going to give him 3 seconds. Otherwise, we might have lost him. Oh, no, you're back, Paul. You're back.
Oh, sorry. Yeah. Yes, so
sorry, you're just saying.
yeah, sorry. I was just talking about the evolution of teams, in the Premier League, and using the Man City team of the last couple of seasons. You'd see that they played with a false nine for a season, and I think it did not go beyond a season where they knew they needed a striker, and they went and got Haaland. Do you know what I mean? So I'm like, why didn't we know that we needed a striker at the beginning of the season?
Oh no, he's back. Hold on, is he gone?
I'm back
He's back.
again.
Sorry,
I'm
boy.
kind of going off and off. Sorry. Yeah, I'm not
No
sure
worries.
what's happening
Well,
there.
I'm going to finish it there just because I'm conscious of the time as that. But thank you
Yeah.
for your point and your time. I really appreciate it. It was some
Thank you.
fantastic.
Thank you for having me, Tom. Thank you.
Pleasure. Absolute pleasure, mate. Fantastic stuff. We got 2 more listeners to get on. They've been very patient, so please do show them some love as well in the chat box. Going to bring on Normski first. I can see him nodding away as he says he's been patient, very patient indeed. Thank you for coming on, mate.
All right, mate. Thanks for that. I've been watching you a long time since your school days.
Oh,
so
God.
yeah, a long time. Yeah, a long time. Yeah, I mean, there are points that I agree with you. There's some points that I don't. Sometimes I'm getting a bit frustrated at the phone.
What it's about?
It is what it is. We all got opinions.
Indeed.
Tonight
I'm
was
curious. What is it that you
absolutely.
think I'm wrong on? I'm curious. Tell me.
No. I mean, we'll be here all night. So I think just judging the game tonight, absolutely frustrated with the game. The amount of chances we had, was it 747 passes, 30 shots, at goal, 8, I think it was 8 on target. Now, if we had a bagsman up front, then we score. Do you know what I mean? I look at the 2 chances that Jesus had, and I think Saka's had. If there was an Ivan Toney up front, he scores them goals. And I know you got your issues about Ivan Toney and the sort of money that you're going to be spending 100 mil.
Sure.
There is a lot of money, but we have to do something in January. Absolutely have to do something in January. Now,
It's not going to be 100 mil though, is it? Like,
no, absolutely not. And I don't know what the answer is. And I think our front 3, when you look 10 goals between them, Martinelli is definitely dropped off the side of a cliff at the moment. I don't know what's going on with him. And one of the things he does, which really frustrates when I heard it from the last call and the previous call, is that he needs to get his head up. Just little adjustments in his games, will just make things a lot more different. He's just sometimes just running into a blind corner. And not only that, Saka as well. I think both, definitely Saka and Martinelli, in terms of their performance has dropped off compared to last season. 15 goals from Martinelli. Do you know what I mean? And then you got 15 goals from Odegaard or what? I can't remember what it was. 45 goals between 3 of them. That's a massive drop off. And obviously we was missing Jesus.
10 goals from our front 3. Is 10 goals? It's staggeringly low, isn't it?
Yeah, it is absolutely. And I mean, there was talk of Dominic Solanke from Bournemouth, 12 goals in the Premier League and 1 assist. Now, I was looking at. I mentioned it to. I was talking to another Arsenal supporter, and I was saying that if we had a Dominic Solanke, he would probably. If we had a top class striker, I would probably take Dominic Solanke as a second striker, based on what I've seen from him. He's going for a purple patch at the moment. And those 12 goals that he's scored, if he was playing in our sides and the chances that we create, as you said, if Haaland is in that side, we win the league because we do create the chances. But it's just that we're not clinical enough. And a lot of times tonight, the ball was just hit straight at the goalkeeper. He didn't really have to work hard for his saves. A lot of it was straight at the keeper. And it's a fact, we're not clinical enough. We're not clinical enough.
So obviously, I think we both agree that we would like to sign somebody that can change and transform the team. I think that would be a potential solution. But I think we also both agree that that's not going to happen. So what is the solution that's feasible, I guess?
How long you got?
This team scored the most Premier League goals that we've ever scored in the Premier League last season. So what is it that's changed that means we don't? Is it really as simple as Granit Xhaka's not here anymore? Is that really the difference?
I'll tell you what. Talking about Granit Xhaka, I mean, obviously he got 7 goals last season, and that's probably one of his best performances I've ever seen. And not only that, with the Shevchenko situation, where I think the previous caller said where Granit Xhaka was pretty much playing like a box to box. Do you know what I mean? He was covering grass literally from back to front, and whenever Shevchenko was out of place, you could bet your bottom dollar Granit Xhaka would be in that position to cover him. And I think that's the problem we've got. I mean, I know Arteta wants to play this inverted, left back role, but I'm just thinking to myself, if Timber was fit, does Shevchenko get in if he was fit?
I don't think Zinchenko is in our best 11. No, I think Timber is our best left back at the moment. I think Zinchenko. There's actually a quote from Zinchenko where he says Timber might be better than me, which I think tells you everything you need to say. Really,
I heard that.
And I think that's why we signed it. That's why I struggle with the whole criticism of the club in some ways. They're like, well, why is Zinchenko still playing? And I'm like, well, the club did what you wanted them to do. We just don't have that guy because he's out injured. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's what
going forward, Tom. I mean, listen, we've got Fulham next. We have to bounce back. And all right, we're 2 points off the top. And I look over my shoulder and I see the big blue shark behind us. I mean, if they start to get a bit of run of form, obviously Haaland at the moment is out injured, and
he's coming back.
Yeah, he's coming back, and De Bruyne are coming back as well. If they start to put on the afterburners, things could change. But look, I'm going to see what happens in January. I think it's important to see who we get in January. If we do get some kind of striker, we might go and get somebody out of the blue. I don't know. I just think we need someone that can bag at least 15 goals. At least 15 goals. Do you know what I mean? And we might have
at least 15
an outside
goals.
chance.
Jesus got 11 last season. He missed a third of the campaign. If he was fit all season, would Jesus have got 15 goals? I think he might have done.
Tom. So if for instance we went for an out-and-out striker, that would obviously put Jesus' position in a little bit of jeopardy. I know there could be rotation that could happen. Would you then maybe look to rotate maybe Jesus with either Martinelli or Saka? Because he probably could play that role out on the wings. He's more, I think, personally speaking, with Saka, I think he's more direct than Saka. Because I think the problem with Saka, where they're doubling up on Saka and Martinelli, Saka cuts back too much, it becomes too predictable. And just one question I want to ask you. When Saka started playing that role as that right winger, obviously he's strong on his left foot. I'm sure he used to take on defenders. I don't know what's happened, why he likes cutting back. And as you say, you got two people on him. I just don't get it.
I think that I talked about this, I think the other day. I said that, we're seeing our wingers get doubled up on, and we continuously see them try and do the same thing to combat where they cut back or then wait for White to overlap or whatever, if Zerdegaard on that side. And we need to learn better how to use the space that happened. I think the problem today was, Normski, is that we went 1-0 down so early in the game that West Ham could just revert to,
and that's what they do. They defend the lead. They defend the lead. And my son said it. He said they're going to defend the lead tonight. Do you know what I mean?
Come up against teams that play low blocks, but a team can play a low block against us at 0-0. But when you get a 1-goal lead, it's not just a low block; it's part of the bus. It is
exactly. And that's what happened tonight
in the box. And it's not a case of doubling up. It's a case of just flood the box with players and stop you from getting through. It's very difficult, and that's why I was frustrated that we didn't gamble more with our crossing. Like we were too patient. We were too meager in how we played.
I think what we was doing as well tonight a lot was spamming a lot of crosses. And West Ham have got big defenders, and it was easy. It's just too easy for them. Literally every time a cross came across, apart from those two chances from Jesus and Saka, they were just literally heading the ball out. I'm thinking maybe hitting the ball from out the area, a bit more often than not, and not trying to, because Odegaard, it frustrates me a little bit because he's in the box and he's having a little dance in there and trying all these little intricacies, and I'm thinking, just shoot, just do something. Do you know what I mean? But yeah, it was all in all for me tonight was frustrating, and then just to round it off, Declan Rice giving away that penalty. I was thinking, oh my God, you couldn't write this.
By the way, it's frustrating, isn't it, that David Raya is going to get absolutely no credit for saving a penalty.
I did see him waving to the crowd, so maybe
maybe.
It is what it is. But yeah, but listen, we go again. We go again, and hopefully we do something in January, and let's see where we end up. But do I think we're going to win the league? To be honest, Tom, I'm gonna say no.
Well, I didn't have us down as winning the league at the start of the season. I said I thought City would win the league again because I think they're the best team, and that's who you got to beat if you want to win the league. If Liverpool win the league, I'll be disappointed because I think we are a better team than Liverpool. But we'll just have to wait and see where we are come May. But I'm not going to lose my head over one defeat. As I said, City have won 2 of their last 7 games, and they're already. It is going to be a very competitive season, and we're going to drop.
It's very tight. It's very tight up there. Very tight at the top. So we'll wait and see. But look, Tom, thanks for having me on, mate. Really appreciate it.
Pleasure, mate. Absolute pleasure.
Mate,
thanks for listening for so long. I really appreciate it.
Mate. Take care. Bye.
Much appreciate Normski for coming on. Fantastic guest once again. We're going to finish off our phone in with a very familiar phone in face, and that is Elliot. How you doing, Elliot? You good, you well?
Happy holidays, Tom, to you and
you
yours.
don't sound too happy about the holidays.
Yeah, well, the Christmas turkey didn't go down so well today. Tom, we are diametrically opposed on this point, and that is the striker issue is moved to the front of the queue. We are last of the top 5 sides in terms of goals for. So much so that Man City are 7 goals ahead of us, and they have a match in hand. This has become a problem, Tom, and I offer a solution to you. Now, I know the Tony issue is not going to happen because, quite simply, they're not going to deal a man who's going to, who they will depend on to stay up.
So we're not going to spend 100 million on him. Is what they're not going to do,
Yeah, we're not going to spend 80 million on him. So we go to option number 2, Tom, and that is bringing in one of our European prospects and bringing them in.
My suggestion, yeah.
Sesko, Jimenez, Gurasi,
Boniface,
any of them, bring them in now. This has become a problem. The reason why you can't get men like Saka and Martinelli scoring goals is the fact that they are double teamed at both sides. They're not getting any overlapping runners, and they're left defensive of themselves. So their goals are down because they know there's no attacking threat in the middle. They don't fear Jesus anymore. They don't. They literally don't. They don't care. They say, yeah, okay, we know you may take a chance, but chances are you're going to miss. And he missed today.
But do you think they feared him last season? Because that's the big question I'm asking is, why did we score 88 Premier League goals last season? Why have we now got a goal scoring problem?
Yeah, I think it was due to the fact that indeed they did fear Jesus for a time there, and we played an open game. I think a man like Xhaka, who was there tonight, was very integral in terms of our play back then. But it was new to a lot of teams. But a lot of teams have caught up to us now. They know how to defend Arsenal from the wings. They know how we attack. The only way we're going to make a huge difference is if we find someone in the middle who will take his chances. Today's best chance was Jesus. That header off the way, that header from, I believe, the corner. That header from the corner, and at least a set piece, I know, and he totally fluffed his lines. We can't. I mean, Jesus. I don't know how many goals he scored. I think in the Premier League, I think it's about 2 or 3.
3.
I think 3 at the most. Yeah, 3 at the most. Saka with 5. You have Martinelli with 1. They know how to defend this, and a team like West Ham knew how to defend this because there is no threat. There's no threat through the middle anymore. Time to go out into Europe.
Why is there no threat anymore?
He's not taking his chances. We can listen. Jesus is not a man who is a gilt-edged chance taker. If he was, he would still be at Man City right now. Pep saw what
I struggle, Elliot,
and he totally went and he said, you know what? I found a man in Germany who can do the job better than you, and I'm taking him forthwith. And guess what? These guys are scoring goals for fun nowadays. Haaland scored 52 goals last year. It's the fact of the matter is, okay, now Haaland is a very special case, but at the end of the day, we're falling behind here. And if you have to loan, if you have to beg, borrow, steal in order to get cover that you need in the middle and at the back, so be it. Get it.
I don't think that's going to happen.
Exactly. But our priority now is scoring goals. It is imperative that we have to get someone in here who can bag us at least 10, 15 goals in the second half of the season. This has gone way too far, and it's part of the reason why we lost today. I'm sorry, Odegaard.
I said before, if you could tell me that none of my midfield defenders are going to get injured for the rest of the season, I'd love to bring in a forward as a priority. The thing is, like, we're one defender injury away from the moment from a disaster. We were one yellow card from Ben White away from Cedric being the right back against Fulham. That's where we're at with the defense, you know. So it's so fragile, I think, at the moment, because the injuries that we have. We have to do business in January. I really hope we do business in January, but I'm not wildly optimistic that we will do business in January. But I just, if you need a wake, we always talk about Arsenal losing a game before the January window opens. I hope that this is a wake-up call. If it were, I don't think it is, because I think the club have got the idea of what they want to do and knew what they were going to do before this game, and we're going to do that anyway. But I just hope that we do something in January, because it is needed if we want to try. If we want to try and win the league, we can't leave the window having not improved this team. It's as simple as that.
Absolutely, Tom. And quite frankly, it was very disappointing today. Listen, the goals were not the fault of any of our defense or any of our midfield. I mean, they were set piece goals. Quite simply, that first goal, Saka fell asleep, and then White didn't get didn't cut out the cross, and again it was VAR again. Anyway, moving on to the second goal, bad marking on our part, and again we went away, and I don't know why we do this zonal marking, but again we have one of the best defensive leaves, so you leave that there. But at the end of the day, our attack is threadbare at the moment. We can, and I understand we have injuries left and right. That's why I'm willing to get a man on loan with an option to buy until next season at the back, so we have cover. I understand we need that cover in the midfield and attack. Do that. But if you're going to spend proper money, spend it on a man who, as you say, maybe a forward who can score, who can play across the front line and get us goals, or a striker. It is so needed now more than ever. We can't depend on Jesus anymore. I'm sorry, I have to say it. We can't depend on Jesus anymore. We can't do it.
I don't think
he's like Thomas Partey to me now. He is.
I think that we are in a situation where this team's frailties are exposed, as they are more exposed than they ever have been before. And I really hope that we react to that. Elliot, I've got to jump off because it's now 5 past midnight, and I am going to be up in less than 7 hours to put together another show.
ADM call, yes, indeed, of course. But
thanks for
happy
coming on,
holidays
mate.
to
I really
you,
appreciate your time.
and all the best. And hope your weight loss journey hasn't taken too much of a hit. And
it has taken a hit over Christmas. It has 100% taken a hit. Yeah. It is what it is. I'll be back on it. New Year's resolutions and all that. So
indeed. Well, happy holidays to you and yours, sir. Happy New Year.
Thank
I'll
you,
keep on watching, mate. And cheers for the discourse.
Thanks, mate. Appreciate that. Much appreciate. Love to the family. Thank you, everybody that's listened. You can see from the look on my face how tired I am. And I'm going to be up for you guys tomorrow morning to bring you a raw reaction show looking all back at today's disappointing defeat against West Ham. I hope you have a fantastic rest of your day, evening, afternoon, morning, wherever you happen to be in the world that are listening to us. I also want to say that there is, I don't know if it's gone, but there was one ticket left for our live event as we were going live. A fair few more people bought more tickets today. And yes, I'm checking, 99% sold on the live event, means there's one more ticket left. So if you want it, you're going to have to be quick. 22nd of February in North London, Essex Road, Old Queen's Head. That evening, me, a fair few guests, fantastic opportunity to meet a load of people. And we are going to sell out our event months before the event, which is amazing. So thank you so much to so many of you that are going to help support. For those that have been asking questions, I am planning on hopefully getting a recording of that live show. So if you aren't able to come along for obvious reasons, because you live elsewhere in the world or you're just busy, we hopefully will also have that out for you as a post record as well, like we did with the first live show. I will be back tomorrow morning, live bright and early at 8 a.m, talking, as I say, about this game in more detail. But I wish you all the best in the world. Stay safe, stay well, stay happy if you can. I know it's tricky after a defeat, but it's important to try. I will see you very soon. And as always, up the Arsenal.